What if the reason you haven't reached your dream isn't because it's too far, but because you stopped too soon? What if the smallest steps, repeated daily, were building something greater than you could see? And what if the tiniest creature, the ant, held the secret to survival, success, and strength? This is the story of Ari the ant, who discovered the extraordinary power of persistence. In life, so many of us quit too soon. We say, "I'm tired. This is too hard. I just can't go on." But progress isn't measured by comfort. It's measured by persistence. Think about an ant. If it stopped gathering food just because the sun was hot, it would starve in winter, even though it had the strength to prepare and survive. Yet we humans, surrounded by endless distractions, often wait for motivation, for inspiration, for that perfect moment, and in waiting, we give up before the real effort even begins. And so, lives filled with potential become lives filled with regret. Beside a golden field of wheat, there stood a mighty anthill. To an outsider, it was just a mound of dirt, but inside, it was a bustling city, tunnels weaving like streets, chambers filled with grain, and workers moving in endless streams. The ants lived by one simple code: never quit. Every single ant had a role. Some gathered food, some repaired the tunnels, some cared for the young. Their strength was not in their size, but in their persistence. And among them lived a young ant named Ari. Ari was curious and energetic, but he was also impatient. He often watched the others carrying food twice their size, sweating under the sun, and would mutter to himself, "Why must I work so hard? Why can't life just be easier?" When a stick blocked his path, he'd stop. When rain soaked his back, he'd complain. When the sun burned, he'd whisper, "I'll try again later." Day by day, his hesitation slowed him down. He fell behind. He saw the colony storerooms filling with food, but his own chamber remained nearly empty. At night, he'd lie awake and worry. What if winter comes and I have nothing? What if I fail the colony? What if I fail myself? One morning, the wise elder ant called Ari aside. Everyone respected elder ant. He had lived through storms, floods, and droughts, and still stood strong. Ari lowered his head in shame. "Elder," he said, "I try, but it's just so exhausting. I feel like quitting. I'll never be able to keep up with the others." The old ant smiled kindly. "Come with me to the top of the hill tomorrow morning," he said. "There, you will understand." The next morning, Ari climbed to the very top of the anthill. Elder Ant was already waiting, his eyes fixed on the horizon. "Look," Elder Ant said. Ari gazed out across the field. He saw hundreds of ants moving in a steady, constant rhythm, each one carrying food, repairing tunnels, or guarding the entrance. Not a single one complained. Not a single one stopped. "Now imagine," Elder Ant continued, "if every ant stopped when the path was blocked. Imagine if every ant said, 'This is just too hard.' Imagine if we all waited for someone else to push us forward. What would happen?" Ari thought for a moment, then chuckled sadly. "The colony would fall apart. We would starve. We would die." Elder Ant nodded. "Exactly. Ants do not need a commander. We work faithfully. If one path is blocked, we find another. If storms come, we endure. In summer we labor, because we know winter will test us. We survive not because we are the strongest, but because we never quit." Ari watched in silence. For the very first time, he saw the bigger picture. Each small effort was part of something so much greater. He whispered, "I understand now. Every single step matters. Every grain of food matters. I can't give up because my effort contributes to more than just myself. It contributes to all of us." Something lit up inside him. From that day on, Ari worked without complaint. When the sun was hot, he kept going. When the rain poured, he kept moving. When branches blocked his path, he searched for another way. Slowly, he grew stronger. His legs carried heavier loads. His back no longer bent under the weight. His spirit hardened like stone, and soon even the ants who once pitied him began to respect him. Seasons passed. Ari faced blazing summers, freezing winters, storms that flooded the tunnels, and predators that threatened the colony. But each time, he remembered Elder Ant's words. Each time, he refused to quit. And slowly, the young, doubtful ant became a leader. Other ants looked to him for guidance. His name was spoken with respect not because he was perfect, but because he persisted. Years later, Ari became an elder himself. His back bore the scars of many storms, but his eyes shone with wisdom. Young ants would gather around him, asking, "How do we survive hardship? How do we endure when life feels impossible?" Ari would smile gently. "Ants don't quit," he'd say. "We plan ahead. We take one step, then another. When the path is blocked, we find a new way. The journey may be hard, but persistence will always carry us forward. He would pause, look at the hopeful young ants, and add, remember, the sun does not shine for one day alone. Seasons change, challenges come, but if you keep moving, if you never ever quit, you will survive, you will grow, and you will thrive. Life will test you, the path will block you, the storm will rage, the world will whisper, stop, it's too hard. But remember the ants. Remember Ari. True strength isn't built in comfort, it is built in persistence. Every grain you carry, every step you take, every single effort you make, it all adds up. And one day, you will look back and realize, you became strong, not because life was easy, but because you never quit. If this story touched your heart, please share it with someone who needs a little encouragement today. And if you'd like more stories that whisper wisdom and courage into your soul, be sure to subscribe. Thank you for listening, because sometimes one simple story is all it takes to remind us that persistence is power.